Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. This video we're going to do an alignment on the front of FrankenNova. Now, I don't lack much before I'm taking this to the track. I've got to do the front and rear glass, do the alignment, put the seat belt in it, and put a drive shaft safety loop on it. Most of that's not going to take very long. We're going to do the alignment tonight. I'm going to be doing this using turntables and a toe-in kit and a bubble caster camber gauge. I'll put links in the description to all the stuff I'm using in case you want to do this yourself in your garage. Now, before we get started, I want to say thank you to Javier Mira. I hope I'm saying your name right. Bonneville Art Design on Facebook. He does all kinds of rendering. He's did this one for me. I really like it. I've got some shirts. I'll try to put a link in the description to my Redbubble site if you want to get a shirt. If not, that's cool too. Let's get to work on the alignment. Now we have three measurements we're going to be checking on this car. We're going to be checking toe in, which is this, toe out, which is that. We want it towed in about 1/8 of an inch. Most rear wheel drive cars, you want it towed in about 1/8 of an inch with radial tires. Now you got the other two measurements are camber and caster. Camber is how much the tires are turned in at the top is negative camber, out at the top is positive camber. Caster is the relationship of the spindle this way. Now positive caster is the upper ball joint behind the lower ball joint like this. Negative caster is the bottom ball joint behind the upper ball joint. The more caster you have, the more stable the car is going to be at higher speeds. Okay, so one of the first things you need to do is get the car jacked up, get the tires taken off, get your center caps taken out, and then get your dust cover for your hub bearing taken out. And the reason being is because the caster camber gauge is going to be magnetic and it won't stick to an aluminum cup or center cap, and this is round, so even though it'll stick to it, it really won't center on there very well. So what you want to do is, this will fit around the nut on most GM stuff. Most of your Ford stuff, it'll fit around the nut on there as long as your cotter pin isn't in the way. So hopefully your wheels, the hole is large enough to where that'll go inside. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to get this thing set up to where we have no problems adjusting it or turning it or setting everything. Now, when you jack a car up and set it back down to the ground, the control arms let the tires move down, and when it sits back on the ground, the bottoms grab and don't want to set down, and it keeps the car up a little bit. So to get the front end to settle, you have to roll it back and forward a lot. If you don't have these plates, that's what you're going to have to do between measurements or between jacking it up and down to make sure that everything's moving like it should. Now, I've heard of guys using a couple of steel plates with grease in between them or something like that just to make things cardboard. There's a few ideas you can do to make things move around a lot easier. When you go to adjust your toe in or to turn the wheel back and forth to check your camber and make sure that your caster is right when the car is sitting at ride height, you want to make sure that there's no binding up of the tires on the pavement or whatever. So the way that works is on these turntables, you set the tire on it, take the pins out, and this floats around and lets the tires move to where they want to be at resting height. Once you do that, you can start adjusting everything. Now we're going to get this set under the tire. I've already got the other side done, and then we're going to check toe in, camber, and caster. It's got degree markings, so you'll know how much you're turning it to check your caster. Okay, so you want to set this under the tire. We just center mark here as close to the center of the spindle as you can get it, and then you want to let the car down. I've already got the other side set up. You want to let the car down. Now I'm going to take my pins out, and you'll see the plate move a little bit where the suspension goes and pushes out when it settles. And I've got drag shocks on the front of this, so you got to push down on it a little bit and let it sit there and make sure it'll go down. Okay, so you don't have to check toe in first. Some people probably prefer to check other stuff first. The reason I'm going to check it first is to make sure I'm reasonably close to the toe in, and I'll go back and check it again after to make sure it's still correct after we make any adjustments. Now, these are toe in plates. The way they work is you put one up against the tire on this side and one up against the tire on the other side. Now the bottom of the tire might have a bulge to it, these little kickouts, and they make some that don't have the kick out, but these little kickouts keep that from affecting it too much. it goes from the sidewall to the sidewall. It keeps it pretty much square with the tire, and as long as your tire is not weird or damaged or way underinflated, it should keep it relatively square with the wheel and the hub. Now you put this one on the other side, and then this kit comes with 2 tape measures that slide into a slot here, slide into a slot here on either side of the wheel. You stretch it across and then measure on this side, and then that'll show you your measurement. So if your measurement on the back is shorter, you're towed out. If your measurement on the front is shorter, you're towed in. If they're even, you've got 0 tow. Now, I like to run about an eighth of an inch towed in on my cars. This car, when I first assembled everything and kind of wanted to test drive it a little bit, you can check out that video right here. I'll put it at the top of the page. Now, I got under the car with a tape measure and put it between the tire on the front and on the back, and I probably got it kind of close, probably within a 1/4 inch, but that's not very accurate. You can get pretty close with it. We're going to measure this real quick and see how I did. Now, like I said, it comes with 2 tape measures. I'm going to stretch it out to where I know it's far enough on the other side to grab, and leave it sitting here. And the other plate has magnets in it that'll grab the metal on the front of the tape measure. So I'm going to leave these 2 sitting here, go set the other sides in the slots. Now you want to make sure that none of your suspension or steering components are interfering with the tape measures. You want to make sure this plate is up against there good, and you're going to use the tape measures to pull the other side. Put my glasses on so I can see something here. Now you want to pull the plate up against the tire on the other side, and you kind of feel it with the tape measure. You can feel where it's at. Now, I'm at pretty much even. I'm at 70 here and 70 there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my knee against this plate. All right. And now I'm at, on the other side, I'm at a 1/16 less than 70, so I'm at 69 and 15/16. And here I'm at 69 and 7/8. So, or no, I'm sorry, 69 and 3/4. So yeah, I'm right at an 1/8 of an inch towed in. Okay, I'll take those loose on the other side. So, wow, I got pretty close using a tape measure on the other side, so on the inside of the wheel. Anyway, that's good enough for now. We'll check it again when we get done checking the caster and camber. Now, I don't have any shims in the control arm on either side, so what I'm going to do is check my camber first, see where it's at on both sides, and then we'll see what we got, see what we're working with. What you do is you got a bubble level on the front of this to make sure this is leveled front to back. And then you read your camber. Once you get your bubble in the center right here, you read your camber right here. And you can see you've got 2 camber gauges. I've got my level bubble here. I've got a camber positive gauge and a camber negative gauge. Now, this one is at 0. That one is at 0, which means I'm exactly 0 camber. It's not in, it's not out, it's perfectly straight up and down. And that's okay, I'm good with that. Okay, now on the driver's side, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna level up the bubble here. And now I'm actually positive on this side, so the tire's leaning out just a hair, about a 1/2 degree positive. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna check my my caster on both sides. I'm going to start with this side and then see where we're at and see if I need to make any adjustments, because you can adjust camber and it will, caster, and it will change your camber a little bit. Now, I don't have any shims in either one of these control arms, so hopefully I don't need to adjust much. I can pull the wheel in some, but I can't come out any. So we'll see how that gets us. Okay, we're going to check this side first on caster. And the way you do that is you go ahead and zero up your level here again. And now what you're going to do is this turntable is marked in degrees. You're going to want to turn, for the driver's side, you're going to want to turn it out to the left 20 degrees, which is right here. Then you're going to adjust this right here, which moves this bubble in the center, the caster bubble. It moves that up and down. and you're going to zero that, and then you'll turn it back 20 degrees. You turn it out 20 degrees first, then you turn it back in 20 degrees past zero, and then you level this bubble again, and that tells you exactly where your caster is. So we're going to turn it out 20 degrees. A little bit more. All right, we're dead on 20. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zero my caster right here. And my zero mark is right there, so we're trying to get right on zero. You can see we're right there. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to turn back the other direction 20 degrees past zero. Which is right there. And now we're going to level this bubble again. See, I need to go a little bit farther. All right, and I'm at 1 degree positive caster. So now we're going to check the other side. Okay, so our turntable is on 0 right here. We're going to put the gauges on, level it up front to back. All right, and now what we're going to do is turn this tire out 20 degrees. I'm a little farther than 20. It really helps to have two people when you're doing this. Okay, so I'm right at 20. Now what I want to do is I want to zero this caster bubble again, which is right there. All right, and now I'm going to turn in 20 degrees past 0. Let's see where we're at. We're at 20 degrees. All right. Now I'm going to level this bubble again. All right, and we're at 2.5 degrees positive caster right here in the middle. Maybe a little less than 2.5, just over 2. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to adjust the caster on the other side and add more caster, and then I'll check my camber and see where we're at. So I'm at 2.5 on this side, 1 on the other. What that'll cause is that'll cause the car to pull left or right. You don't really want that, so you want to get it as even as you can and then drive the car, and then if you need to, you can adjust it a little bit to get any pull out of the car, but make sure you're going to be on a flat road, because most roads have a crown to them and they'll pull to the right anyway if they're set perfectly even. So what I'm going to do is, since positive caster is moving the upper ball joint back, I'm going to add shims to the rear of the control arm on the driver's side. And what that's going to do is, here's your ball joint, here's your control arm. If I add a shim there, it's going to pull the upper ball joint backwards. Now, since my camber on that side is a little bit more than it is on this side, I'm hoping that'll give me some negative camber there and pull it back closer to this side, which is at 0. Let's try it, see how it works. Now I'm not going to loosen up the front, I'm just going to loosen the back, and it might pull out easy enough. I might have to put my pry bar in there to get it to move, to get a shim in it. And like I said, I adjusted this eyeball in it when I first put it together, just so I could drive it a little bit. And I guess I got kind of close, but all right, I've got a couple of shims here, and these are actually bodywork shims to shim your fenders and stuff, but they'll work in a pinch for alignment shims. Alignment shims usually have a tab sticking up on the top so you can grab them, but this will work just fine. And that's about 1/8 of an inch shim, so see if I can get that in there. There we go. All right. All right, you want to make sure this is super tight when you tighten it up. All right, and now we're going to check this side again. Okay, so I know shimming that back will bring the ball joint back this way in relation to the lower ball joint that's behind it, so it increases my caster. And like I said, I was at 1 degree here, I was at 2.5 on the other side. Now I put that shim in at the 1/8 of an inch shim as a guess. I don't know how close I'm going to be, but I know that I'm going to change my camber also. Now the other side was at 0, and this side was at positive, I think it was 1/2 degree or something like that. So we'll see where we are now. So I'm going to get this, it's almost zeroed right there. Check my camber first. And see, now we are at pretty much 0. It might be slightly negative. You can look and see right here. I'm at below 0 here, and I'm slightly, barely above it right there. So that's pretty close. So now I'm going to check my caster and see where we're at on caster. So I'm going to turn it out 20 degrees. All right. And then I'm going to zero my gauge right here, which is, I barely had to touch it to do it. So right there is good. Now I'm going to turn it in 20 degrees. All right, and now I'm going to zero this bubble again and see where we're at. I'm not all the way in yet. Let's see here. There we go. Now I'm at 2, maybe a little bit more than 2. It's kind of hard to tell. Like I said, it goes in 1/4 degrees or 1/2 degrees. So I'm right at 2, maybe a hair more than 2. So that's pretty close. I'm going to drive it, see how it does, and we'll check it again. Okay, so I drove the car. It ran pretty good. I didn't get to drive it far. This thing's loud. It's fairly late at night, and it doesn't have a windshield in it, so I don't want to take it too far. But on the roads around my neighborhood, I was able to figure out that at least on these roads, it's not pulling left or right. The steering wheel's tiny bit off center, but not terribly so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my toe in again and then see if it's changed much with me adjusting the camber on that side or caster on that side, and we'll see where it's at. Okay, so I got my other plate pushed up there firm. I got this one. Now that's got us pretty much even on the toe end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it in just a little bit. I'm going to grab the adjuster on this side and turn the back of the tire out just a hair, and the same thing on the other side, and then I'm going to measure it again. Okay, so I moved it 2 or 3 times, and okay. Now we've got it a little less than 1/8 of an inch, because I'm at 69 3/4 here, and I'm at okay, wait, 69 7/8 here, and 69 3/4 on that side. So a little, maybe a 1/16 past that. So anyway, we're close enough where I'm going to be okay with it. I'm going to drive it again tomorrow because it's already pretty late, and then I'll let you know how it does. Okay, So that's the alignment on FrankenNova. Now, I'm not going to drive it again tonight. I'll drive it again tomorrow, but it's pretty close. I've already driven it once. Pretty happy with it. Once I get the windshield in it, and yes, for any of you wondering, yes, the windshield weight could change the alignment just a hair, but I don't think it's going to matter. So I'll probably take it to an alignment shop and get it checked anyway before I do much street driving with it. But as far as going down the drag strip, I've done plenty of them this way. Plenty of people do it this way. It's going to be fine. I'm not too worried about it. So now you know what's involved in doing an alignment in your garage. Like I said, you don't have to have the turntables. It makes it a heck of a lot easier to know where you're at as far as degrees wise. You can use a protractor, or actually the bubble gauge actually has some angles on it. If you read the instructions, it tells you how to get that. If you get those parallel with the car, you're supposed to be at 20 degrees. Anyway, I'm going to put links in the description to the stuff I used here, and then I'll also put a link for the shirts from Redbubble. And like, subscribe, and I'll see you next video.